Okay, I'm going to tell you which ones. The first one is called the descriptive, okay? And the other one is the pedagogic. These two are quite different, but still are connected, okay? I'm going to explain you more. For example, in the descriptive, as the name is said, it describes the grammar. In other words, we explain how the language is used with our students. Here we can describe the form, the meaning. We can explain when is it used, right? We can also include some examples, or we can include a really explicit explanation in the descriptive, right? Here we're describing the rule, how it is. In the pedagogic, we have that the teacher here is a center, right? And also the students. Here, remember that before times we had the grammar translation as an important method, right? The grammar translation was focusing, of course, in grammar, and it was very explicit. The students were just translating from English to Spanish or Spanish to English, and that's it, right? In the pedagogic, you know that nowadays we have the communicative approach. Okay, we have different kind of techniques, different kind of methods, and the rule is very important because the teacher now is explaining the rule, is actually demonstrating and also creating activities for the students, right? Here we're helping our students to notice how is the rule applied in different contexts, right? Here we're designing activities for second language learners, right? That's our objective. And also here we have this method that is a hybrid. It means that we describe the rule, right? But also we apply it in different activities, okay? So basically our job is to focus on the pedagogic side, on grammar. We are going to describe it, we are going to explain the rule, of course, and also students have to apply it. Because what's the matter if the student is just listening to the teacher, just explaining a lot of information, a lot of rules, a lot of structures, and that's it? I mean, we changed the topic. No, that's not the purpose. The student needs to actually apply that rule in different activities, right? And we're going to help them. Okay, so here we have a question, right? So what makes a rule a good rule? Okay, let's start thinking. Let's start brainstorming this question. What does a rule have to include? Okay, so we're going to have 3 different teams where I'm going to apply a joint breakout room. You're going to join to this room, and you're going to discuss about this one. Also, I'm going to share you a link that is connected with a PowerPoint presentation in Drive. So each team will have a slide. So here we're going to, you're going to put some ideas. Remember, brainstorming about what makes a rule a good rule, okay? Remember, we don't have error. I mean, no answer is incorrect. Try to brainstorm, try to analyze, try to be in the student side, the student perspective, okay, about the rules. So imagine, remember how is the teacher explaining the rule, what was included in the lesson, okay? So try to be in the student's perspective, okay? So first of all, let me start by sharing the link so you can start opening there. Okay, so now the link is in the chat. And I'm going to start by creating the breakout rooms. I don't know if you have any questions related to the activity. No? Okay, Ale.
No, teacher, thank you.
Thank you, Eugenio. Thank you, Ale. All right, so I'm going to start by creating the breakout room. So please, thank you, Selena. So please join into the different rooms, okay? There you have the link so you can start discussing and writing there in the slide, all right?
Okay.
Okay, very good. I'm going to open the room so you start by joining them.
cannot tell the students, like, for example, arrive at 4 a.m. Like, they must be like fair rules, and like rules must be fair for students. Rules must be easy to follow. Again, like, you cannot say or ask them to do things that are not possible or really hard to do. Like, you cannot talk at any moment in the classroom. I mean, you need to be fair and clear. You need to have brief and clear rules. And last, the rules must be usable for teacher and students. Like, I think it's really important to be fair in the aspect that not only ask the students to do something, but you as a teacher, you need to also follow certain rules in the classroom.
Very
Yeah.
good. Excellent. Something else that you would like to add to the information, or that's it, Natalia?
No, that's it.
Very good. Thank you. All right. So let's go to team number 2.
We are Chuy and Karime. We were team number 2,
Very good, Selena.
but we were like thinking if you mean like grammar rules or classroom rules. So we wrote about grammar rules.
Okay. Very good.
Okay, so the first two are Karime's.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wrote that the teacher makes the rule easy to understand, and the teacher gives a lot of, well, good examples to use that rule.
Can you hear me? I don't know if my internet connection is working. Very good, Karime. Excellent. So the rule has to be understandable, and teacher also gives examples. Very good. I don't know if you have if you want to say something else here, Selena or Chuy.
Yes, I wrote the other two sentences. It's about teacher makes the rule for everyone. And I think it's because teacher needs to be transparent and needs to be an example for everyone. And the other one I wrote, teacher gives awards or points for the rules. I think it's necessary to have opportunities for them to like have a good score or participate or be obedient, and it's an opportunity for them to demonstrate it.
Very good.
And the last two are mine. And I wrote that the teacher should master the rule she's going to teach. Um, because then it is very hard when a student asks you something and you are not very sure about it. And I think that's something very important, yet very difficult for the teacher. And then teacher provides enough scenarios for students to understand the rule. And I mean activities like during the class, when you present the grammar rule, the teacher should have enough practice so students can like understand how the rule goes, but also like the yes, what we said in our group, like the context, like in which context can we use this rule.
Very good. Excellent. Something else that you would like to add in this slide, or that's it?
For me, that's it.
Very good. Excellent. Very good. Interesting ideas about these two teams, team number 1 and team number 2. Let's check team number 3.
Okay. We wrote that it must be clear. It must be clear enough for students to understand it. It must be consistent. It has to be used. There's a lot of noise. It has to be used in real life. It can be acquired. That it doesn't have to be memorized. That students can actually make sense of it, as it says in the next point, and that it has a real life purpose.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you very much for your participation, teams.
Yeah.
I really found it very interesting. Here I saw, for example, in team number 1, You were more focusing on classroom management, right? Here, how is the student going to be well behaving inside the classroom, right? And also, yes, we need also consider that classroom management is important inside. Mhm. Trying to tell your students how to behave if they want to participate, if they have to um, tell you the answer or raise their hand, right? So we must consider this. Also, I notice here how to explain the rules according to the grammar, right? That they have to be understandable, provide examples, uh, that they have to be acquired. Very good, excellent. Okay, so let's go back to my presentation and let me tell you more information about it, okay? Thank you for your participation again. Well, first of all, rules have to be and have to be shown truth. What does it mean? Well, it means that rules should be true. We need to see, and we need to be prepared. For example, if you are going to teach, I don't know, a grammar a topic, past simple, for example. Well, you need to be prepared in order to master that topic. Okay, students are going to ask you questions related to the grammar topic, right, as always. So the rules that you are going to teach have to be true, right? If you don't remember the information, it doesn't matter. It's okay. Sometimes we can forget about it, but don't say fake rules. Okay, that will affect the student's knowledge in the future, right? And also yourself, the credibility, right? Students are not going to believe in you maybe if they know that you actually gave them a false information. So we need to be very prepared. Also, rules have to be very clear and simple. Okay, what does it mean? We know that some grammar topics are very difficult to explain or are going to be difficult for students to acquire at first. So it means that we need to know how are you going to explain that rule very clear, very simple, straight to the point. Okay, by how? Maybe by showing some examples about some sentences, maybe give them a context that is going to be helpful for the students in order to understand more the topic. Okay, and also rules have to be resemble to the reality that it's describing. Okay, what does it mean? It means that, for example, if you are going to give them the topic about past simple, well, it means that you are going to talk about the past, right? So in the lesson, you're not going to talk about the future, or you're not going to include examples about the present tense. Why? Because you are teaching past simple. So the reality and the rule are connected. Okay, you are not going to be distracted about any other tense. Another aspect is the limitation. So basically, we have a limit by teaching a rule. You know, and some of you already know that the vocabulary is limit, right? Students have a limit in order to learn new words. Right? What does it mean? For example, 10 words, 10 new words for beginners is okay. Okay, 20 is going to be a lot for them. So it's almost the same with grammar. So for example, if you are going to teach will, that is the future, you're not going to include at the same time going to. Why? Because then you know that will and going to, it refers to a future. Okay, so students might be having this confusion. So what is the different, teacher? Well, try to start the topic, for example, will, maybe in the first class, try to wrap up that topic, and then you can start going to, right? And then you can compare the tenses. But don't start at the same time will and going to. Don't put activities at the same time of will and going to. Okay, first you need to start will, for example, try to wrap up, try to create activities so students can understand, so students can have this process of to identify this structure. So once that you end with the will, so you can start with the other tense, okay? In reality, we have books, English books, that these two tenses are going to be shown or are going to be taught in the same class. I know, I mean, I have been working with this. So what is my suggestion? Try to divide the topics, okay? Maybe the first hour I'm going to be focusing on will, the second hour with going to. And maybe in the third hour, I'm going to use them both, but as a comparing, what is the difference between these two? Okay. So we need to be very careful with this information. Another aspect is the clarity. So basically, rules should be clear. Okay. Sometimes when we are not clear as a teacher, you limit the information to the student, and also the student is going to have some problems. For example, if you are going to teach present perfect, and you say, I know, I don't want to teach present perfect because it's weird. We have the verbs that is in past participle. So I know, no, I'm not going to explain the past participle. I'm just going to go just to show the structure, and that's it. So sometimes students need the information about the verb past participle. Why? Because maybe some of them they didn't know, and some of them had a background knowledge about this tense. But remember that all of the students don't have the same level, right? Maybe you might have beginners, but some of them are very true beginners. It means that maybe they don't understand a topic. Okay, so we need to be very clear about this structure. Okay, sometimes we can get confused by explaining a lot. So try to be very short, go straight to the point, what it is, and that's it. Okay, for example, we know that the structure will is about making spontaneous decisions. Okay, and going to, it's premeditated decisions. So maybe by explaining this, by telling them, okay, you're using will for a spontaneous, when you're very spontaneous. Okay, and going to, when you're thinking about your decisions in the future, right? Making them separated, okay, so students can understand more. And we have the simplicity that, well, as you know, rules should be simple. What does it mean? It means that we know that in the grammar tenses, we have different categories. For example, past simple. In past simple, we have the first person and the third person. So a lot of categories in order to teach that structure. Okay, but remember that we have to be very simple to explain it. Sometimes the structure itself has a lot of exceptions, right? In English, we have a lot of them. Okay, and don't try to cover all of the exceptions. Okay, if you are teaching a beginner level, just give them the necessary. Okay, if you give them a lot of information in a beginner level, they are going to explode. Okay, maybe in an advanced level, yes, you can include even more information, because they know, they have been practicing during the during the previous levels. So, well, they are prepared to have more information about the tense. So if we're in a beginner level, just give them the necessary. Okay, the necessary that they have to work with. Okay, and also we have more aspects. Here is the familiarity. Okay, so we know that some students that you're going to have in your class have a background knowledge. So elicit at first, before explaining the grammar structure, maybe eliciting, as you know, putting some pictures and asking them what do they see, maybe telling a story, as you always put it there in your lesson plans. Okay, so eliciting, so you know what information does your student know. Okay, and also some information maybe they already know, maybe they have acquired before, maybe they have seen that structure before, or some students are very intelligent, are very fast to acquire the information. Okay, so you can have these, if you have these students, you can use them for examples. Okay, you can use it in order to have a familiarity there. Okay, so that student can help the rest. Okay, so you can have that one. And then we have the relevance, that basically here, a rule, for example, sometimes is very difficult to understand. Some of the students are going to interfere there because maybe they are going to have some confusions about the information. So try to answer the questions related to the rule. Okay. If your students didn't understand, try to clarify with some activities. That's why ECRIF is very important, because in the encounter, the teacher gives them the information, and during the whole stages, students are working with that information. So little by little, students are trying to process it and try to produce it. Okay, that's why ECRIF is very, very useful with all of the skills, almost all of the skills, right? And here we have that the mother tongue is going to be affected. For example, in the theory, it says that some French speakers, I'm not sure, I don't remember, I had French before, but I don't remember anymore. Some French speakers, they have the similar structure to present perfect, but they use it differently. So for example, in case that in your classroom you have a French speaker, if you are teaching present perfect, the mother tongue is going to be affected. Okay, so that's why we need to be very clear. We need to be very relevant in order to explain the rule, and also to clarify the information. Okay, clarify the structure that is not the same, the information in English, in Spanish, or in French. Okay, some of your students are going to translate the structure. Okay, for example, in present continuous, yo me estoy bañando, I am taking a shower, or they're going to translate. So try to tell your students not to do it. Okay, try to tell your students that they need to think in English, starting thinking little by little, so they are not translating all of the information that you are giving. Because if that's the case, then the student is not going to learn accurate. Okay, so we need to tell our students that. Okay, so we have 5 minutes, and I want you to do an activity. Well, we have 4. So we're going to discuss about this. As you can see, this is a teacher, the letter T. The teacher is explaining the past perfect rule. So here we're going to read, for example, what is the teacher doing in the classroom? How is the teacher explaining the rule, okay, to the students? And we're going to ask each other some questions. For example, what aspects did you notice in the explanation of the teacher? Okay. Would you change something about the explanation? Do you consider that it is useful for the students, this explanation from the teacher? Okay, and we're going to share the conclusions. Okay, so here I'm going to open another breakout room in order to discuss this one. But I would like you I'm going to conclude this class because we have 3 minutes. I'm going to finish this one and let's continue with another one. It means that try to log in again with the same with the same